Okay, so here's the answers for this one. Let's go over the review. What I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and give you the answers, and then you can kind of like add on to it what you need to do, whatever. So keep in mind, what are your general forms? Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So keep that in mind. So slope-intercept form is y equals m. Oh, that's horrible. Let's try that again. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So if I've got a slope, my slope is my m, and the y-intercept is my b. So all I got to do is put the 5 here and then minus 3 here, negative 3, whichever. And that's it. And there you go. Point slope form, again, starts off as y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Keep in mind, you're just putting numbers in place of the y1, the m, and the x1. Y with y, x with x, slope in the middle. So notice here, that's what I've done. Now I started this one out, and I'll erase this for a second. This started out as y minus 4 is equal to 5 parentheses x minus a negative 2. Then the minus negative becomes plus. Okay? Then, to get from point slope to slope intercept, I need to first distribute. 5 times x is 5x, 5 times 2 is 10. Then add or subtract. In this case, minus 4, the opposite of that is a plus 4, so 10 plus 4 is 14. There's that answer. To go from slope-intercept to standard, I need to move this x over to the other side. So that becomes positive 5x becomes negative. We can never leave an x negative, so we have to change it to a positive, so it would become negative 5x would become positive. And I would change this to a positive, then I need to change the sign of everything. So that's what I did to go from negative 5x plus y equals 14. I changed the sign of everything, and I get positive 5x minus y equals negative 14. Okay, on number 3, you can see here, same thing. I plugged it in. Notice again, this started off as, what did it start off as? It started off as y minus equals parentheses x minus negative 3, y with y, x with x, slope in the middle. Minus a negative becomes y plus 3 equals 2/5 x, parentheses x minus 5. Distribute to go from point slope to slope intercept. Distribute. That's how I ended up with this negative 2. 2/5 times a negative 5 gives me a negative 2. Subtract 3, since they're both the same sign, you would get negative 5. Then to go from slope-intercept to point slope, move the x over. That becomes negative. Here, and I'll erase that. Give me a second. Okay, so the 2/5 moves over. 2 over negative 5x plus y equals negative 5. So notice I moved it over, and notice how I made this negative on the bottom, because that way I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I need to get rid of the fraction, so if I just multiply by the denominator, I'll get rid of the fraction, and I will change the sign to a positive, because these two negatives cancel each other out, leaving you just the positive 2. Negative 5 times y is negative 5y. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. And there's my answer. So basically I'm saying this times this times this, and then that. So you got to multiply the negative 5, this denominator times everything. Realize again, this is slope-intercept form right here. The number in front of the x is your slope. The number all by itself is your y-intercept, which I would probably write as a point. Okay, I'm going to rewind on this one a bit, so keep in mind this is what I'm doing. Alright, so on this example, what you see here is the numbers are, this is what is called a standard form. Ax plus by equals c. Your slope is negative a over b, your y-intercept is c over b, and your 0 is c over a. Your 0 again is your x-intercept. So if I do this, that means I would say, well, the number in front of the x is a 5, so that becomes negative 5 over negative 3, which becomes positive 5 over 3. Your y-intercept is c over b, which is 20 over negative 3. Written as a point would be 0, negative 20 over 3. Your 0 is the or the answer over the x number, which would be 20 over 5, which is 4, and that could be written as a point as 4, 0, because again, your x-intercept is always a number, 0. Keep in mind when you graph equations, a negative slope goes down and a positive slope goes up. So you got to make sure that you go through all this just like that. And start with the number after the x. So that starts at 3 on the y, and then you're going to go down 1, 4 to the right, and there's your line. And there you go. That's it. Okay, not sure why I'm doing that. Let me pause this here real quick. So you've got your line. There you go. You might want to pause it to make sure you got all this copied. Okay, now obviously on the test I would give you points for a problem like this, but let's use these points right here. Let me see, make sure this isn't, there we go. So we'll do this in yellow. Okay, notice how I went down 7 over 2. I chose those 2 points. Those are the points I'm working with. Now your point slope form would be y minus, again, blank equals blank, parentheses, x minus whatever. If you choose the first point, that's what you would get. If you chose, say, the x-intercept, there's your possible answer. Anything could technically work. You just got to make sure you know which one is the one that's working. Slope-intercept, you really don't need to do anything here. Keep in mind, you don't need to go through the process, because as long as you have the y-intercept, you should be able to get that taken care of. Okay, so you can see here, what I would do is take the y-intercept and the slope, and you can easily come up with the equation line without necessarily having to go through the steps that are right there. But if you don't have that, then you would have to go through the steps like we've gone through before. Standard form, not exactly why I'm sure I'm doing that in orange, but move the x over to the other side, make it positive, and then you can multiply everything by 2, and you would end up with your answer, which would be 7x plus 2y equals 14. Okay, so fairly simple, nothing that difficult. You should find that fairly easy. Okay, on number 8, find the slope. A lot of y'all are getting this mixed up, but remember, it's subtract the y's over subtract the x's. Subtract the y's over subtract the x's. Number 9, find 2 points, give me the slope. Keep in mind, when you've got a graph, you can do rise over run. How much did you go up and down? How much did you go left and to the right? Positive, you went up. Negative, you went down. To the right, positive. To the left, negative. So since I'm going up and to the right, that was up 1 over 3 to the right. That's when I got my slope of 1/3. Number 10, I need to distribute. 3/2 times x, 3/2 times 8 is 12. Then add 1 to get 3/2 x minus 11. I guess I can go over that just a wee bit. Okay, so you can see here, when I multiply, I'll get that right in a second. 3 halves times x is 3 halves x. 3 halves times the negative 8 is negative 12. And you could easily type that into a calculator. Then you have to add or subtract. Whoops. To get that final answer. Again, keep in mind what form they're asking for. Alright, first thing you got to do when you have 2 points is to get a slope. So subtract the y's over subtract the x's, which would be 1 minus a negative 5, which is 6, over 2, which is 3. Point slope form. Again, plug in your x with your y with your y, your x with your x, and your slope in the middle. And I'm not exactly sure why I erased all that, but we'll let it play and kind of go from there. So, should give me, say, there we go, y minus, so y with the y, x with the x, slope in the middle. If you use the other point, that's fine, but that's what you would end up with. More than likely, I would use the first point. Just keep that in mind. Okay, slope-intercept. Actually, I'll go over that one right there. If I had used the point slope, actually, well, yeah, if I had used the point slope form, I would have ended up with y minus 1 is equal to 3x minus 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Add 1, you get y is equal to 3x minus 5. Then, standard form would say I need to move the 3x over, so that's negative 3x plus y equals negative 5. And then when you say change the sign, you get positive 3x minus y is equal to positive 5. There you go. That's all the different forms. The more I look at this problem, the more I'll probably do something simple. The slope obviously is the 4. It's the number in front of the x, or in front of the parentheses. The y-intercept, if you start solving this, y minus 3 is equal to 4x minus 8. Add 3 to both sides. You get y is equal to 4x minus 5. And guess what? There's your y-intercept, negative 5. Then if you move the 4x over, you get negative 4x. No, I was right. It was positive. Plus y is equal to negative 5. So this would become positive 4x minus y is equal to 5. So that means if I do my dividing, end up with a x-intercept of positive 5 over 4. So that's that for that one. Not too difficult. There you go. Yes, I am kind of going through this quickly, but I'm trying to make sure I cover everything. If you do have questions, feel free to ask me in class at, say, tutoring, lunch. Okay, there we go. I think 13 and 14 y'all should know. Just remember, start from the right, work your way to the left. So like you're saying here, negative 3 minus 5 equals negative 8. 5 minus 13 equals negative 8. 13 minus 21 equals negative 8. So that's how I can find that easy if I work from that way. So you can see yes, yes, no. Common difference, negative 8 and 2/3. Find the next 3 terms. So you can see here, subtracting 6, 58, 52, 46, adding 14, 7, 21, 35, adding 4 over 4, 13, 17, 21 over 4. Okay, last thing. A to the n is equal to a1 plus n minus 1 times d. So the idea here is we're going to put a number, the first number and the difference. So we start off like this. The first number is 9, so I'm going to put a 9 there. It's going up by 4, so I'm going to put a 4 there. Distribute, and then you can add or subtract. So 4n minus 4. And what's 9 minus 4? 9 minus 4 is 5. So my answer there is 5 plus 4n. Okay, the next one. Subtract, or the negative 5 would be the first number. So I'm going to put that there, and then it's going up by 3. Not exactly sure why I drew that. Negative 5, and then I would have 3n minus 3. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. And finally, last one, it goes up by 14, starting off with 19. I'm sorry, it goes up by 12. Why did I say 14? Anyways, starts off with 19, goes up by 12. So 19 plus 12n minus 12, distributing. And then what's 19 minus 12? It's 7. Okay, and that's pretty much the test review. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. I would tell you to ask before class, somehow before class. So I don't know how you would do that. Maybe come during lunch, whichever, but you might want to do something like that. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope you all do well on this test, and hope you all are studying. Hope you all are watching this. Thank you.